Anyway,
week.
there we go.
Hey, if you don't have your camera turned on, James, Melissa, Travis, David, and everybody else, I'd love for you to flip that camera on. So
There we go. There's pretty faces.
There's my boy Jimmy Morales all the way down there in Miami, Florida. My guy. I just wanted to share with you guys. Hey, by show of hands, who had an opportunity to see a couple of the clips from the studio this week? Anybody see that? Yep. If you did, type just say me in the chat right there. Guys, this was a phenomenal experience. One of the things that we talked through over the past several months is what are really the number one things we need to learn as entrepreneurs, as business people, as leaders, as husbands, wives, friends, work associates. What do we really need to learn? And we really came up with three things. Obviously, and again, Nate and Sheena was with us for a week as we developed these three courses, and we shared a little bit of this last week. But I want to give you a little of the why behind the what. And we came up really with mindset, with strategy, and with multiplication through leadership. And so the entire Grow course that we're going to kick off. Hopefully, we'll have everything ready next week, guys. This will be on Kajabi. Everybody that's in on the Kajabi side, literally you'll get a Kajabi login. You'll go in, you'll have courses very similar to Cardone. You'll take quizzes at each of the segments. I think in the first course, Nate, I think there's 12 lessons in that. We're going to do it in 8 weeks, 12 lessons. Each lesson, you'll have a workbook that walks you through the entire course. You'll have a resource guide, a hack guide as we talk about. We'll talk about different things on our online coaching sessions here on Wednesday night, different hacks that you can do. But I just want to share with you, I've got several one-on-one coaching clients. I text them every day. This morning, every one of them got a text message from me. Hey, mindset. What are your top 5 things you're going to do today? And how did we do on our top 5 things from yesterday? And then it's always mindset. Like this is it literally, guys, over the past 8 months, 9 months, this is probably the number one thing. And so there's a lot of familiar faces in the room tonight. And every one of you guys on your journey, you can attest to, there's been moments where you've really gotten it and you've moved forward. I see Melissa on here who's absolutely crushing it. She's going to share in just a minute. She's going to share a little bit of her story. And she even came in on her last day of family vacation to kind of hang out with us tonight. She rocks. And it looks like Stacy's drinking an old fashioned over there in front of me. But one of the things that we always talk about, like even with Melissa, with how her business has grown and her 3 businesses have grown and she's had new opportunities, it really is a mindset. And even over the past, I guess Melissa's probably been connected with us at Grow State Drive for about 4 months. There are moments where you feel like you're kind of riding this gigantic wave. And then there are moments where you're like, crap, there's no momentum going on whatsoever. And it's really, guys, it's those. I see this even in my own accountability group with the guys that I'm in, and we've spent extensive time talking about the power of accountability group and the power of mentorship. It is the mindset aspect of what we do as human beings, I believe, is the number one thing that we face. It is the number one obstacle. And if you flip that coin over, it is also the number one positive trait that we can have as individuals that really gets us down the road. Because, like, I'll give you for instance, when we had a couple guys in the room earlier, I was kind of sharing with Greg and with Jared earlier. We were in the studio for probably, 12 hours, 13 hours the last 2 days, and you're in the green room and you're locked in on a teleprompter and you're having to remember all this stuff and you're rolling. And got up this morning, went to the gym, got my workout, went and showed a house, came back, took a shower, put an offer in on that house this afternoon. And I literally walked into the living room here at Nate's. I was out. I'm talking about 2 hours. I was out. I was wiped. I was wiped emotionally. Physically, I was wiped. I mean, I just was like, I just need to recover. Nate took the kids out. He goes, I'm going to take the kids to the pool for a little bit, just get you some rest. Because I was wiped. And there are going to be times, guys, as we walk through this journey, wherever you are, if you're seeing great success right now, or you're still kind of plugging, or Rosa's halfway through 45 hard, whether you're like Joe, whether you're like Sin, regardless of where you are, There's always going to be those moments where mindset is the most important thing. So what we did was we said, listen, it's not enough for us to cover mindset for a week or mindset for even 2 weeks, but this is 8 weeks on mindset. This is 8 weeks really going after what's called a limited belief system. Anybody ever heard of raise your hand if you've heard of a limited belief system, of really a limited belief system. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, as we're prepping for this course and we're kind of walking through this, it really, in my own life, I'm still faced with limited belief systems. And one of the things, that really shifted for me, and you guys have heard my story, was when I went to boot camp in October, saw Grant on the Instagram ad. 2 weeks later, I'm on the Saturday webinar about coaching. I signed up, paid $1,000 that day. Monday night, we're on the call. He's pitching Miami 10X boot camp. There's like another $3,000. Before I knew it, I'm $5,000 deep into just an investment in myself personally, not spent, but that's an investment. And then so I go to Miami, and then I get time with Grant Saturday morning after Richie talks about the licensee program. I'm kind of like, wow, this is unbelievable. And Grant asked me a question. He goes, what do you want out of this weekend? And this is exactly what I told him. I said, I want my mindset to what is a lot of money. I want it blown off today. Like, I want the lid of my mindset to be blown off. I don't want I've made $50,000 and $60,000 a month in the past. I don't want that to be like, oh my God, $50,000 a month. If I can just get, no, I want like 150 to 200. I want $2 million, $3 million a year to be, when I talk about it, it's just like, hey, you want to go Chick-fil-A? Yeah, sure I do. I want it to be that normal and easy of a conversation. So really what we did and what I experienced back in October was literally an atomic bomb. And you guys have heard me say this before. I told Grant, I felt like the businessman on the inside of me was born again. Like there was something that happened to me at that boot camp back in October, at the end of October in Miami. And so really what we wanted to do in this GROW course is we wanted to take 8 weeks of, this is online coaching, and it's about, I think it's 12 or maybe even 13 lessons, video lessons. And guys, listen, the workbook that comes through this isn't something that you take 5 minutes a day and work through. These are like, we're gonna tackle fear. We're gonna tackle insecurity. We're gonna tackle the limited belief system of success. Because some of the people, and I'm gonna let you jump in here real quick and share your story. And I'd love for you to talk about that limited belief system that you had about just even earning 6 figures and what that looked like for you 4 months ago and where you are now and how that's even shifted. So Melissa, go ahead and tell everybody a little about who you are, what you got going on, and what's been going on in your life the last 4 months.
Can you hear me? Just want to make sure.
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Okay. I'm in the boondocks of Kentucky, so my reception's terrible, but it'll hold up. So I met Ken. I owned what I love to call small businesses, and I never thought of making them not small. So I own several different small businesses, and once I met Ken, it was like, and I've said this before, and some of you guys probably tired of hearing me say it, but he really blew off the ceiling of my thought process and what I thought was possible. And I actually was a person who I felt content to keep my businesses small. And that's how I described it. Oh, just small business. I own a small salon. I have a small cleaning company. I have a small, personal training business. And I was trying to become a coach and blah, blah, blah. And making 6 figures was not even a possibility in my mind. And now I'm on track for sure to make that. And my goal is to make much more than that at the end of this year. So, that has all to do with mindset. 100% has to do with mindset.
And talk to me about some of as we talk about limited belief systems, because guys, this is the important thing. And this is kind of what I've seen, like in the 10X movement, any movement where you've got an influencer or an author, speaker, coach who comes in and you're kind of dabbling a little bit in a specific area, and you may learn 3 characteristics of a passionate leader. Oh, I need to be intentional in adding value. Oh, I need to take risks. Oh, I need to do this. Well, you know what? If the number one thing is mindset, and this really is the number one thing that we need to learn, why would we spend 1 or 2 weeks on that? Why would we not invest a good solid 2 months to 2.5 months of really working on and rewiring my mindset? So Melissa, when I say, hey, your goal this year, or you're on pace right now to do 150 plus this year, if I would have told you that 3 or 4 months ago, what would you have told me?
I would have laughed and not believed you because there's no way. And so, yeah, I considered it. And one thing that I've learned is that I know that you have to do 10x effort and all that matters, but you can't do that if you don't believe it's possible. And I did not believe it was possible. I also did not believe that I was capable personally of doing something like that. So you have to believe in yourself and you have to overcome self-doubt. And that was huge for me too. And Ken's been really good about that with me for sure, building me up and making me believe like this is possible. You can do this.
And guys, let me ask you a question. I want somebody type this in the chat. Type this in the chat for me. Why do you think I'm good at helping her with self-doubt? So somebody put an answer down there. Why do you think I'm good at helping her with self-doubt? Anybody? Just unmute yourself. We got a small crowd tonight. I don't even care. I don't even care if you. Yep, I definitely. That's exactly right. Greg's freaking 1,000% right, because I freaking dealt with it and fought it my entire life. I have constantly said I grew up in a parents divorced when I was 8. Moved to Georgia when I was 8 years old. Moved back and forth 6 different times. I went to 12 schools in 12 years. I was always a little bit above average in whatever I did, but I was never excellent. I was never like when you played ball in the yard in the neighborhood. I was never the first guy picked. I wasn't the last guy picked, but I wasn't the first guy picked. I was never like the second guy picked. I was the guy that got everybody together. Hey, let's play ball. Let's go down and shoot hoops. Let's go play football in the playground at the school. The reason that I can look at Melissa and say, listen, you've got this, you can do this, is because I struggled with and experienced the very same thing myself. That's why it's easy, guys, for me to, and even for Nate. And I'm gonna throw Nate a curveball in just a minute. And we're gonna break down one of the limited belief systems tonight that we talked about. We changed the entire format of what we were doing in the studio for this one limited belief system. The reason that I can help Melissa with, and to be honest with you, it's a scarcity mindset. Because listen, if you've never been exposed to what we're talking about now, I'll never forget when Melissa told me the first call. She called me. We actually may have even been an Instagram DM video she sent me. She's like, I'm going to make 6 figures this year. Dude, she looked like a freaking kid on Christmas morning. She was like, and it wasn't just the fact, guys, of the money that she was making. It was the fact that limited belief, that lid, that mindset just went freaking, it blew off. The lid blew off of her life because she understood, wow, this is attainable and this is possible. Melissa, talk about a couple moments or a couple times where you struggled and how you kind of overcame some of those things in looking big picture, vision wise, in building that business to a really a mid 6-figure business now.
Yeah. One thing was that I was really focusing on one aspect of all of my businesses instead of all of them. And you were like, why wouldn't you try to expand all of them? Why wouldn't you try to expand your salon? Why wouldn't you try to sell more retail? Why wouldn't you try to expand your cleaning business? Why wouldn't you want to try to get more coaching clients and more personal training clients and then charge them more? So I was really like kind of thinking in a box because I wasn't thinking, with an open mind that this was even a possibility. So once I got over that and was like, I could like expand all of these businesses, why not? And once I thought about it in that way, that's what changed. And it's funny because like your mind will begin to accept the possibility really quickly. Like 6 figures was a big deal at first. And then once I started to like accept that, and now it's like $150,000 this year, now like that's 100,000 is not enough, like you start to like, your brain starts to like to accept it the more that you, and I write out. And then another thing that helped me too was writing out my goals twice a day. I was writing them out once a day and I thought I was like super cool because I did that. Well, then I got around these guys who write them out twice a day and it's like, that's what cool kids do. So now I write them out twice a day, and there's something about writing those out every day and thinking about them and like obsessing over them that your mind begins to accept that this is this is not only a possibility, but this is what's going to happen. And it's going to get big, and it's going to get even bigger than that. So I think that's been really helpful for me.
Talk about the sales in your salon, because that was one of the things that we hit on.
Yeah.
Your product sales in your salon.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what you text me last week.
We were not a sales focused salon. So, Ken turned me on to Card on You and learning how to be a salesperson, which I didn't consider myself to be a salesperson, but I am. We all are, right? So he turned me on to that, and I started studying that. And then I started to get my employees. I have 2 booth runners, and I created a sales incentive program. And I cannot even believe these girls are so fired up and excited about this. This is crazy. So we only averaged like $250 a month in sales at my little salon. And so I was like, well, let's try to double it, and I thought, this is crazy. We'll never double it.
And when you said double to me, what did I say? I said, that ain't enough.
You probably said triple it, right? So I was like, there's no way, and so I started talking to the girls about it. I created a really silly incentive program that was not a big deal at all. And I got them on board, and we had 2 days left in July. And I told my employees, like, we're so close to hitting this goal, but we're just, I guess we're not going to make it for July. I don't know. Like, we're not, they got super excited, and they were texting me while they were at work. I just sold $130 to some lady who walked in here. So we exceeded it. Like, my goal of doubling retail for the salon, we exceeded the double, and I didn't think we could hit it. And my employees have never been excited about sales. So that's been huge to see them get excited and get kind of competitive about that. So yeah, big stuff.
Phenomenal. And guys' mindset on that is it is the number one thing. So with that being said, is Nate and Sheena and I got together, and our team kind of got together and processed through, hey, what's the next step for Growth Stack Dry Brand? Like where do we need to go? And we really felt like, man, we need not just 1 week or 2 weeks on mindset. We need an entire course where we attack limited belief systems. Guys, listen, Melissa is a prime. Dylan Powell and his wife couldn't be on tonight. They had a church thing they had to go to tonight. Dylan actually sent me a little video. But attacking limited belief systems. And one of the things that Nate and I talked about the other day was I actually pulled Nate on, and we talked about shame. And we talked about the difference between guilt and shame. And the difference between guilt and shame is huge. And I just want to we're going to take probably 10 more minutes. Nate, I'd love for you to break down kind of our process and kind of what shame is and how you and I kind of communicated that back and forth in the studio yesterday.
Well, that is a curveball. I was prepared to talk about your authentic voice. Now, okay, I'm in. Well, just a backdrop, guys. I grew up pretty rough. Some of you might know that. When I say pretty rough, I don't get into the details, but I was abused when I was a kid. Went through a lot of tough time. My mom died in my arms when I was 11. Had a psychotic older brother. Went through a lot of tough stuff. And as I got older, and you kind of think, the way you deal with pain or deal with any of these things, you'll either, compress it, you'll deny it, you'll minimize it. And I was a minimizer. And one of the things that I learned really quickly is when my divorce proceedings began, that's not something I wanted, but I can own a failed marriage. I finally took this real hard course to say, hey, I had to figure out what really was my problem. Like, how did I end up losing the love of my life? How did I end up doing this? And by the way, it's a two-way street. So I'm not this guy where like, hey, no one else does anything wrong. That's not the case. But the point is, at first, I kept thinking I was just guilty. Guilty says this. What guilt says, and people mistake guilt and shame. But shame is a very, this is what I call shame. If you ever heard of Lyme's disease, it's the most elusive bacteria on the planet. And I have Lyme's disease. I was bit by a tick back in 2018 and had to do a 21-day round of antibiotics. And it still rears its ugly head. So it's an elusive bacteria. It means it actually will be in your system for long periods of time. And if your eating gets off, you stop working out, you stop doing these things, it'll actually rear its ugly head at times. And literally just ravage you. And it deals with your neurological system. So I might wake up one morning, have severe neck pain, all my joints are frozen. I'll get bursitis in my hips. I'll have horrible migraines. And I'm like, and I finally started going, okay, now that I understand what shame is and so the difference between guilt and shame is this. I'm trying to round this up real quickly. Long story, but so when I got divorced, I felt guilty. And that's what I thought. Guilty says, sorry, let me say it this way. Guilt says this, that I did something wrong. right? We all felt that way, right? You do something wrong, you feel guilty. But, man, I drank too much. Oh man, I ate too much. I feel guilty because I did something. What shame says, toxic shame says this, that I am something wrong. Guilt says this, that I did something wrong. Toxic shame says I am something wrong. And you really don't know the difference between the two when you first start unpacking this. But I became a student of shame because I realized really quickly what my problem was in a failed marriage is that I'd never dealt with past pain. I never dealt with the things from my past, whether big or small. And I didn't realize that I had to do that. So I'm going to give you a couple tips on shame, and there's more Ken does a great job unpacking this in a whole session. That's why I think it's so important. I'd say the average person deals with some level of shame. Just because of the pure fact, everybody always says this, and I don't believe this in the self-help movement. They says you're not a product of your past. I'm here to tell you that's not true. You are a product of your past. It's like saying that the seed in the ground is like that. The tree that grew from the seed is like that tree is not a product of that seed. It's not true. That tree is a product of that seed that was planted, how it was planted, what soil it was planted in, how it was nurtured, where it was watered, all those things. And most of us in our society today, we grow up in some really tough situations or really things that happen. Shame usually comes from not what you do. Shame typically comes from what was done to you. Or shame comes from what actually happened to you when you were young, and it builds this system in your mind. And it's a very limiting belief system because when you walk around, even though you're confident or you show signs of this, but when you lay your head in the pillow at night and you sit there and you think about like, man, I'm missing it, or I am something wrong. Why am I not ending up? Why can't I do that right? Why am I missing this mark? Why can't I hit the goals like that person does? Why can't I do this? And what that does, it ends up this toxic cycle, and it's a spin, it's a ladder, and it doesn't get better, it just gets worse. It's like a cancer, it grows. And so, and the way I realized this, Ken, am I on point?
You're perfect, yes, sir.
And I had an epiphany, and all of us have an epiphany about shame, and I didn't really get it till I sat there. I was sitting there before our marriage ended. Officially, we did like one last retreat. Our marriage struggled for years. Like we were struggling, right? We were fighting, man. I've known her since I was 15, only one I've ever been with in any way. John Mark and, Stacy know her. She's a great person, wonderful woman. You'll never hear me say a bad word about her. She's a great person, great mom. And we went to this 2-day retreat, up in the mountains with the counselors. And it's the first time you had to do all this work. And, I'm at this time now, I went to so much counseling as a kid. It's like, I know how to work counselors. I just know how to work them. Like, oh yeah, it was tough life. Yeah, I'm sorry, it was horrible. Yeah, that happened. Yeah, it's like I'm trying to get out of it, right? Not trying to get to the pain of the root of it. But and by the way, this is going to relate to all of you guys. Is I'm sitting in this seat and these counselors, I had to fill out all these forms, and I told my story. And so he's looking at these forms and he's like, "Man, whoa, Nate, that happened to you at that age?" Yeah. And then boom, like, wow, that you went through that? Yeah, I did. And he says, "Nate, man, how do you make you feel?" I said, "Hey, it was tough, at times." But I said, a lot of people got it. Like minimization is a big thing with shame. I know other people had it harder.
Minimize it.
Other people, other people have tougher lives. There's people across the world that are trying to get their food, just for the day. And he looked at me, he says, "No, Nate, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. Like you went through, it was called trauma. I was actually diagnosed with PTSD. I didn't know that until I was 42 years old. I got diagnosed with PTSD from my childhood. Think about that for a minute. That's how long I struggled with actually unwinding this actual toxic shame in my life. But this was the epiphany. He got to my head, and this is how he got to me, is he asked me this question. He says, "Nate, I'm telling you it's traumatic, so I'm going to give you a situation so you understand it." He says, "Right now, you have to choose one of your 5 kids to go live your life as a child. You can choose any one, but one of them's got to go live the first 13 years of your life. Choose one for me." I said, "That's a stupid." I literally said, "That's a stupid. You guys know me. That's stupid." I still got a little ego up, right? Like there's tenseness in this relationship between me and my, wife at the time. And so I've still got my little pride up, right? Like this shame of man is full of pride, man. This is full of this fake facade. I'm in that room, like I'm okay. And the whole time I'm going like, man, I know there's something wrong with it, but I can't let anybody know. I got to protect that. I got to protect that. And so the guy goes like this. I said, "I'm not going to do that. So no, I won't do it." He says, "Well, no, Nate, okay. I really want you to do that." I said, "No." I said, "Fine, I'm going to do it for you. I'm going to choose one of your kids for you. I'm going to choose your son." And I go, "What? No, you don't, I'm not with this exercise." "No, Nate, I'm going to choose your son. Your son's got to go live your life for the first 13 years. And he goes, "What would you do not to let that happen?" I said, "You don't know what I would do to ensure that my son would never have to go through that." And he goes, "Well, okay." And I go back at him. He's like, boom, boom, boom. Then he comes out. He's like, "Nate, what would you do?" I said, "You don't know." I started getting worked up. "You don't know what I would do." And he finally paused for a second. And he goes like this, and he goes, why the hell was it okay for you? If it's not okay for your son, then why the hell was it okay for you? That's what shame is. Shame is something we build so many walls up based on past circumstances, situations, things we've either done, but mostly it's what been done to us, the circumstances of our childhood, things. And so I literally began that journey that I crumbled in a ball in the middle of the floor. I literally cried. I went and puked. It was like something came out of me. It was just, I felt like this. I finally was at this place where I got real with it enough to go like, that got me, right? You got me. No, my son, no. Then I'm like, why was it okay for me? And that was the question. Why was that okay for me to go through? Why did I tell myself like that my whole life? Sorry. It's still a little raw for me at times. I'm only 2 years into this. And dealing with shame is a long journey. It's only done painfully, incrementally, and it's done in a relationship. You can't skip either one. There's no shortcuts to dealing with shame. There's no shortcuts to dealing with your past. So I went on an 18-month journey after I got divorced by myself. I didn't date. I did nothing. I took care of my kids. Most of the times, guys, most days for the first month, I could barely get my feet out of bed. Literally couldn't get my feet to the floor. That's how brokenhearted I was. Barely could do it. But I went on this journey for, if you want to tackle shame, it's painful. It is incremental. Can only be done in a relationship, but it is a worthwhile journey. And I guarantee you, if I talk to you all one-on-one, there's certain parts of that are all wired into us that we're like, that part of us, like, you just know it's like a cancer that's eating away at you, but you don't know how to deal with it. You don't know how to unwind it. It actually, we were just giving you an example of what toxic shame does. It'd be like my wife back then, when she'd say this, she'd go, hey, Nate, can you come home tonight? You're working kind of late at 7:30. And, and right then, this is what toxic shame does. This is how I do what she's saying. Oh, she thinks I'm not a good husband. She's saying I'm a bad father. She's saying that, this work is more important than her. That's what in my mind's going on in my mind at the time. And I don't lie to this, but all she was saying, she was not critiquing me. You know what her heart was saying? We miss you. We miss you, Nate. Can you come home? But what toxic shame does, it takes the truth about who you really are and what you should be. That's why we put part of this course as daily affirmations. It's so important to affirm yourself with who you really are, what you're made of, how that works. And from that moment on, man, I ran far as back as I could. And I went to my mom's grave, wrote her a letter, sat there, I didn't really know what to do. I read the letter out loud. I left it there on her grave. I went and confronted my dad. Went through some tough situations that way, sit there and wrote out things through all my whole marriage of these parts that I know, created pain for my kids and my ex-wife. But the reality of shame is most of us, you have to ask this question. If you'll deal with it. If you struggle with this question most of your life, was like guilt. I just feel bad I did that. But if there's something in you at all, tinkering, that says that there's something inherently wrong with you, that I'm not perfect as I am. By the way, you are perfect. You're not acting perfect all the time, but you were created to be perfect. You are more than a conqueror. You were created for great things. You weren't created for constant mental struggle, physical struggle, things that come at us. Yes, that's going to happen in life, but it's how we handle it. So, and we go into this, guys, deep, and it's like, I'm excited about part of the course because there's nobody really talking about shame, but here's some names if you want to write down. If this is something you struggle with, you can ping me on the side. I would love to tell you about, my journey. By the way, this is the first time when I did that, besides none of you know this, maybe John, Mark, Stacy, because I've stayed with them before. Guys, I went couch to couch. I went out west. I climbed mountains. I put my feet in the Pacific. I took long walks. I went on runs. I started working out. I did whatever I needed to do, both mentally and physically, to rid myself of the constant burden of shame. That was said that I told myself all the time that there is something wrong with me. And when you think there's something wrong with you, what typically happens internally, this is internal dialogue. What happens is typically you don't act right. You act wrong. And most of the time it's like it's already built in. But when you actually grab it for what it is and you have the chance. So this is the second time publicly I've ever shared this. You'll never go to any of my Instagram posts. You'll never go to anywhere I've ever shared any of this before about my ex, because I took that time to actually, put the work in and take that journey. I called it my soul quest, man. I took time to gather the facts. I took time to gain perspective. I took time to get control of my emotions. I took time to see myself for who I really am. And when you get there, guys, if you ever struggle with it, and by the way, if you don't struggle with, there's someone literally within hand's reach on any given day that's in your family that is struggling with toxic shame. that they inherently believe that there's something wrong with them. And once you know about it, and if you dealt with it, what really is fun for me now, fun is like, I can hear it in people's voice when I talk to them. And man, my heart I just like know that pain, but I know the light bulb's got to kick in for them. They got to take it seriously, and they got to go, oh, and people say, why'd you take 18 months to not date or do anything, or, you know, the whole year off stuff? You know why I did that? Because I couldn't wind up something until I've unwound what I was struggling with. Why would I bring my past shit into another relationship? I don't get that, how people just go from like one marriage to the next relationship, this one to this one. I don't get it mentally. It's not a big deal if you do, no judgment to anybody. But what I know, there has to be a time of unwinding. You have to unwind before you can wind up in any area again. You lose a job, get a job, but you better deal with whatever happened that your boss told you were worth nothing. You didn't do a good job. You failed. And if your language says this, is that I failed, here's the difference. Man, I failed at that job. That sucks. Pick my bootstraps up and go. But in your mind, when you're laying in bed at night and your self-talk is I'm a failure, that's another sign that toxic shame is a part of your life. Yeah. So 2 people I want you to read outside of this, a guy named Paul Young, he wrote the book, The Shack. A great book. Another amazing person is Brene Brown to read. Another great guy is James Bradshaw. These are all great people. You can find YouTube videos that actually talk about it. My recommendation is Paul Young. I encourage you to read The Shack. Another book you should read is A New Kind of Christian, which actually deals with the whole debacling of one's mindset that's been pre-wired into them. The steps of what happens. First, you feel sad. Next time you're mad. I was pissed for months. Like, did I get here? How am I 42 years old, went to Bible school, I'm a grown man, I was a pastor, I worked in some of the largest ministries in the country, I worked with some of the top thought leaders, and here I am, I'm all alone. So that's where at the point when I say it's painful, it is. It's still painful. You can see it in me now. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be emotional. You guys haven't seen me cry before. But and that's why I love what Ken is doing. There's not a lot of people out there, guys, that are talking about the stuff that I truly believe is what's holding most people back. It is not your work ethic. It's not that you're not doing enough. It's not that you're not set big enough goals. Those are all great things. But literally, until you actually deal with the root of what the cause of your problem is, no matter what you create long-term, by the way, it will fall apart if shame is a part of your life. And by the way, the hardest part too is what I deal with now, the guilt I have, not shame, is I know what I did because of that shame. It's still on me. I have to own it. And the way and I'll finish with this. One of the things my counselor told me is like, man, I haven't talked about this for a while. Sorry, it kind of gets me a little bit. I remember coming home from that trip and I knew it was time for me to leave. I knew I had to go. I had to go home. That's all I could feel. And the counselor told me this. He says, Nate, you got to go find the little boy that was stolen from you a long time ago. And he said, you have to take a journey. So I came from that trip, booked a flight back to Chicago. I remember sitting down all my kids. Oh, good God. And I look them all in the eyes and I said, Daddy's got to go. And the older kids asked why. I remember sitting down with my oldest daughter. I said, Ainsley, you kind of got some of the brunt of this. I said, you remember sometimes I would be upset and you just wonder why I was upset just out of nowhere, like how I'd get triggered and like something that was so small, I would take it over, and it's, and she goes, yeah, Dad, I remember that some of those times really hurt my feelings. And I brought up a couple situations where I said, you know what? I bet you wonder where that came from out of Daddy, because that's not how Daddy normally is it? She said, yes. I remember that, Daddy. And I said, Daddy's got to go home. He's got to fix that. Daddy's got to put in some work. So I left and I went home and I spent 3 weeks back in Illinois, meeting with doctors, counselors, got diagnosed with PTSD, got put on some meds. And I just remember just the quest of like this. And I'm still on this quest, guys. I mean, it's a cool quest. It just takes time to unwind. Once again, painful, incremental, and it's done literally in relationship. You can't do it by yourself. You have to have people around you that you can talk to about this. Ken knows these stories. But I remember I went home and that journey I started, and it's I'm now close to 20 months into that journey. And I found the little boy, I always put it this way. It's like it's like some house, and shame is this. It's like this house your mind builds. And this is one of the things that true post-traumatic stress. And if you've dealt with shame real badly, I encourage you to meet with somebody. Don't be afraid. I never did it, but I met with somebody to understand when you deal with true PTSD based on harm that was done to you or something you've experienced or seen. What happens is there's biology to it. I always thought it was mental. It was just me. I was something wrong with me, right? I could fix it. But I remember going to a doctor and they diagnosed me with this, and I literally, they told me the actual biology of it. Your brain literally physically rewires itself. How amazing. If you don't believe in God, your brain in the midst of trauma will physically rewire itself to sustain the human body so you can survive. And I mean, guys, it's horrible. Like, here's my encouragement to you. If you deal with shame and you're going to go on the journey, I can tell you it's very well worth it. I wish I would have done it 20 years ago. But at the end of the day, guys, like, I share all that to be vulnerable because we always talk about points on here and point this, point that. There's no set formula to dealing with shame. It's just a set forth mindset that I'm going to actually tackle something I know that is inhibiting me from living the best version of myself in this world today. And so, guys, I'm proud to tell you, like, I don't have it all figured out, but the thoughts I used to have or the sadness that was in my heart, it still rears its head sometimes, but now I know how to deal with it. I know how to tackle it. I know what I need to do to actually, with my affirmations, I know how to tell myself who I am. We spend so much time thinking about what other people think about us. We spend so much time thinking about what God thinks about us, what our parents think about us. I mean, what we think about God, what we think about the world, what we think about this, what we think about that. I just spend all my time. I used to be religious, study theology. I did all these things. I love the Lord Jesus with all my heart still. But man, I'm not religious anymore. I don't spend any time thinking about what I think about God. Not 1 second. All I think about is what he thinks about me. And there's a big difference. Because when you spend the time thinking about your best friend, if you don't believe in God, it's like the best person in your life, your greatest champion, a grandpa or a grandma, right? Whoever it might be, that person that you think is gold. We all got them, like the best person on the human planet that, you know, if you need 1 second of encouragement, you can go to talk to them. Instead, if you don't care about God, he's not part of your life, that's fine. Pick that person, envision that person, and just think about what they think of you. You know, that grandma that you love, that every time you needed something, she was there. She never said a bad word to you. You know, our great grandma stories, right? She never said a bad word to me. She baked cookies. She talked to me. She told me she loved me. We had ice cream. I sat in her lap. We played games. Just put your mind on that. What does that person think of me? Quit spending all the time about what you think about yourself. Quit spending all the time what you think about other things. Spend all the time and pick the right person. I use God, and I spend all my time thinking about not what I think about him, but what he thinks about me. Because at the end of the day, who he says I am is the most important thing. And that's what helped me shift my tide of shame. I'm still on the journey, guys. I haven't figured it out, as you can see. But we unpacked that a little bit. Thanks for letting me be vulnerable. I wish this was not one that was already live on the internet, but I guess it is.
Man, that's awesome.
If any of my friends that watch this or anybody's watched this don't know my whole story, and you see this on my Facebook page, if my kids see it, like, you know, it's time for me. This is part of my journey too.
Well, guys, it
Part of my journey is to share it. Like, you know, it's time now. It's time for me to get out there and share a little, because that's something that I want to write on someday. I want to help people because it's something that is a very, very hard struggle. And I don't think it's going to get any easier based on what's going on in the world today. I think we're going to have a pandemic of toxicity, of shame in society 10 years from now because of what kids are going through, because of what they're being told to do, what they have to do, quarantine, parents beating the crap out of them more than they've ever beat them. Suicide rates are through the roof. People are isolated. They're by themselves. Guess what you should not do? Life is live it alone.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, you shouldn't do it. So I'm sorry, that's more than 10 minutes, but that's my 2 cents on shame. As I said, if anybody in this group would just want to, if I could help with anything, that's my point. As a friend, we're not asking for money for me to help you. Like, if you're like really struggling with it, just ping me. You all got my information. If you don't,
guys, thank you, Nate. It was important for us to not just hit mindset for a week or two, but hey, what can we do to hit on mindset for about 2.5 months? Like, what can we do to literally, so we're going after shame, insecurity, comparison, fear, scarcity, and I said comparison twice. There's 6 limited belief systems that we're going after. And literally, I think there's 12 or 13 lessons in that first course in the Grow course on Kajabi. I think maybe 13. with the workbook, and literally, like even the one that we just talked about with Nate, we literally that's one of the limited belief systems that we actually sat down and we did an interview, just like what you guys see here, and it's absolutely powerful. And it's going to help us, like what Melissa's talked about earlier. Like for her, it was scarcity. It was a scarcity mindset of, man, there's no way I can make six figures. And guys, each of these limited belief systems affect each of us in a different way and at different levels. Like some people may not have shame, like Nate dealt with shame. You may have fear. You may deal with insecurity. Am I good enough? Am I qualified? Can I do what? You write your vision. You may even write your vision down. Nate said this is so true just a minute ago. You may write your vision down 2 times a day, every day. You may do all of the things. You may have huge 10x goals, but I'm going to promise you, if you're afraid or you've got a scarcity mindset, and when you look at this is where I had been in the past. When I had a scarcity mindset of, man, there's no way I can do that. It's just so large. And then when you begin to accomplish things and you begin to hit new levels, and we talked about every floor's got its own ceiling. When you begin to level up in whatever area it is in your life, what happens is you these limited belief systems Nate said it just a minute ago, every now and then it'll rear its ugly head, but now I know how to deal with it. So for us guys, that's what we're super excited about. Again, we got the entire Grow and the entire Stack course filmed yesterday. We're super excited about that. For those of you guys that have not, we've had several people already register. We'll get kicked off again next week. All of the online video, the Kajabi's, I think, is getting started, uploaded tomorrow. So we should have everything ready by next Wednesday to kind of officially kick everything off.
We still got a little work. Yeah, Ken's always driving the ship, so moving things fast. We have to tie a couple bows on those things. Just know, like if it's not next week, it's coming real soon, real soon.
Yeah. So like I said, if y'all saw it, and guys, this is absolutely going to be one of the most unbelievable things, as far as not just the technology and the quality of what we did, but the content as well is really, really good. And I promise you guys, and the 3 courses span 6 months. So we're talking about 6 months of coaching and 6 months of online. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And you spend 6 months going over mindset. That's a full 2 months of mindset, a full 2 months of strategy filtered through our 5 filters: passion, focus, intentionality, teachability, and flexibility. Going through the strategy and then going through the multiplication through leadership development. On the Drive course, it's going to be, I promise you, it will be the foundation that will take you to places that you've never been before, personally, professionally, and financially. It's going to be amazing. Questions, guys? Anybody got questions? I know several of you guys have already bought your boot camp tickets. That's going to be in Nashville, the 6th, 7th, and 8th of November. It's going to be at Coach Burt's Lodge. Phenomenal space. If you haven't seen it, I'll type that here in the chat section for you guys. Y'all can check that out as well. growstackdrive.com/coaching for all the coaching stuff we've got going on, /bootcamp for the boot camp we've got coming up. The boot camp, guys, the boot camp purchase ticket on that, you get everything. You get the Kajabi, all the digital downloads, 6 months of online coaching, the private Facebook page, as well as the boot camp. That ticket's $5,000. We're going to do that for all of the alumni for $4,000. So if that's something, I know several of you guys have already bought your ticket and already moved forward on that. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I was actually supposed to be with Coach Burt all day today in Nashville, and just literally with everything we had in the studio getting prepped and getting ready for tonight. It was, we couldn't make that happen today. So Nate, dude, thank you for just.
Quick question, Rosa. I have one. The courses are going to be, you could do it yourself, Rosa, where you actually have the ability to just watch all the courses, but the coaching will run in rhythm. The mentoring, live mentoring, is going to be the first 2 months. 8 weeks are going to be on mindset. The next 8 weeks will be on strategy. The next weeks after that will be on leadership and multiplication. So, and thanks for all your kind words, guys. I mean, I encourage you. As I said, I mean it. It's something that I just know if you struggle with it. And I mean, by the way, it's, I'll keep it private. You can text me. I'll put my number in here if you don't have it already. But it's time for me to, I'm not saying it's my platform, but it's definitely something that I know all of us have a tendency to struggle with. So that being said, thanks for letting me share. Thanks for thanks for all the kind words. They mean a lot.
Yeah, and I'll say this, guys. When I asked this question earlier about Melissa, why was it easy for me to speak to, number one, to identify that limited belief system of scarcity in her life, and number two, why was it easy for me to speak that? And I think the first or second person put it on there was because you struggle with it. That's exactly right. So
well, that's a part of the authentic voices, and I'll do a bonus session one time for you guys. So maybe Ken, I can come back next week, but that's one of the things about authentic voices that's even been over the last 2 years that I've intertwined into my process of how I work with speakers and authors and thought leaders is you can't teach what you don't got.
That's right.
And so that's the point of why can I speak to shame? It's because I experienced it. Why, if you're listening to me, like why your heart is woke right now, why you have feels like your heart's pumping, it's beating, something's going on inside of you. It's because I connected with what you already got because I went through it. I'm not just talking about something I want to talk about. I'm speaking from a place of authority and authenticity and ownership because I've been through it. I've walked the journey. So,
and our dream, guys, for the Grow Stack Drive brand is not just for your business to just grow and for you to 10x everything that you're doing in your life. But what I think is the most important thing that we do is, like, even in this course, when we walk through shame, insecurity, comparison, fear, scarcity, when we walk through all of those limited belief systems, what's going to happen? You're going to go, the light bulb moment's going to happen. You're going to go, that's the one, or that's the couple of things that I struggle with the most. But then what's going to happen, and Nate said it just a minute ago, is you're going to be able to identify it. You'll see it in other people that you know. And what's going to happen is it'll open up doors for you to help other people get help and realize where they are. And you can walk them through the same path of getting their mindset where their mindset needs to be. Sound good, guys? Give me a thumbs up.
Sounds awesome.
Any more questions? You guys have any questions? I know we kind
Great
of
work.
Anybody have any questions?
I see Dr. Grassi down there running his tail off.
He's booking.
I am running my tail. By the way, Kenny and Nate, first of all, thank you, Nate. You know I love you, bro. But guys, Ken, I got one question, man. Obviously I got on this call last. What's the cost of your program again?
So the cost for the alumni guys to do this with the digital downloads is $399. For people that have not been part of the Grow Stack Drive family, it's $997. That's per course, where you can do all 3 courses for $24.97. The boot camp comes with all 3 courses, 6 months of coaching, the private Facebook page, and then the boot camp November 6th, 7th, and 8th in Nashville with myself, Coach Burt, and Anthony Crooks. And that cost of that's $5,000. We're running that for 2 weeks for $4,000. We've already sold.
Thank you, brother. Well, you're the real deal, brother. I bet you I buy one too.
Come on, man. We'll get Nate May on the phone. He'll be calling you in 5 minutes as soon as we get done, my friend.
Hey, no problem.
I talk to Bobby every day. Bobby's one of my clients. I talk to him every day. He's my
guys, listen.
But understand, I want to say something. I'm not buying the course because I'm Nate's client. I'm buying the course because I know I've 10x my business, but I can always learn from every single person. And what you do, like you talk about getting close proximity, but Ken, your authenticity, how genuine you are, how you truly do things selflessly. I don't think people know that. And if they don't know that, I'm going to tell you anyway. I don't know you from Adam, but you've always picked up the phone, and I respect the hell out of that. And I'm going to support you because I love you, brother. And I know I'm going to learn something from you, and I cannot wait. I cannot wait to give you my money. Can't wait, brother.
I appreciate that. Hey,
that's the guy that's by the way, just the guy just got off the call last month.
Do what, Nate?
That guy's practice did $490,000. He's in the top 1% of dentists in the whole country. So that's coming from a guy that did $497,000 last month.
I actually had Dr. Bobby on my podcast Friday. So if you guys missed that, you can go to the YouTube channel. Super simple. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you do that. You need to do that right now. But the podcast is phenomenal. Unbelievable culture in his dental practice in Flint, Michigan. If you know anything about Flint, I grew up in Pontiac, Michigan. Pontiac, Michigan is the armpit of the world, and Flint, Michigan is the other armpit of the world. So, and he's taken his dental practice from $1 million to close to $4 million a year. And the reason he does that is through leadership. And he's a big Patrick Lencioni and Simon Sinek guy, as I am. And his culture, staff culture in his office is phenomenal. And he's absolutely blowing up. It was a phenomenal. I was Dr. Bobby. I was telling Nate today how much fun that was on that podcast. So be good for you guys to do that. So with that being said, we'll finish the night on a count of 1, 2, 3. We're going to sing happy birthday to Mr. Nate May. 1,
Yes,
2,
sir.
3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. This is funny.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
If any of you call me and you're looking to get in the speaking business, I cannot help you. But thank you so much. That was awesome. Much love to you. Y'all good. And I, by the way, I promise we'll get to a session where we'll dive into some stuff for you guys. I'd love to help you with that.
Hey guys, one thing I'd love for you to do next week, we've got another bonus week before we get everything rolling. I'd love for you to invite some people next week. Bring them on. We're gonna roll. Super looking forward to get going. We're gonna bust out of the gate strong next week. Super looking forward to next week. We'll be look on social media over the next few days. We'll be dropping stuff and clips from what we did the other day, and then our ClickFunnels on Facebook will be rolling in the next probably week, and then we'll be rolling in. I appreciate you guys. Love each of you guys. I see you, Jess, all the way over there in Northern California. I see you, girl.
Hey.
Kimberly, I love you, girl. It's good to see you.
See you later, Rose.
Jay.
Bye, Brittany. Brittany, thanks for the kind words.
God, Jay.
Awesome.
Good to see you, fellas.
Peace,
See you,
brother.
Stacey.
See you,
See you,
Kenny.
John Mark. Bye, Kim Lee. See you, David.
See you, fellas.
Ben, Samantha, Joe, my man, Travis. Go drive that truck. Run it through the mud. Jay, make me some more puzzle tubes. Make millions. Let's go, brother.
Oh, well, hey, thanks for sharing. I love it, man.
Love
No,
you, Jay.
man. Proud of you, brother. Keep doing the good things, man. So proud to see what your business is doing, man. Stay pure, stay strong.
Thank you.
Hey, tell your mother we said hello.